Hi, this is a tutorial for TOG 24/7 and I'm just going to run through this picture. I'm just going to show a few techniques that are used in Photoshop, just a few different few little things just to help improve these types of pictures. And you've obviously got a flower. Now I took quite a few of these pictures and I took them at different apertures and I was trying to throw the background out, but because the flower is actually so small and I wanted to get the whole of the flower nice and crisp, I've actually still got quite a bit of detail in these background leaves, so I'm going to get rid of that and then I'm going to do a bit of work on the actual flower as well, just to make it jump out a little bit more. So to start with, what I'm always going to do is just to copy the background layer just by dragging it to the new layer icon, and I'm actually going to give myself 2 copies, and I did that by hitting the Command J or Control J on a PC just to do a copy. I'm going to rename this one and call it Blur, and then on this one I'm just going to rename it Flower. Okay, and I'm just going to turn off the flower layer for now and work on this blur layer. Now if we were to blur this flower, if I go to Filter, Gaussian Blur, you can see it makes the flower bigger and it's made the pink come out further than the flower actually was originally. Now we don't want that to happen, because when we put the flower back on top we'll get a halo around the outside. So what I'm going to do is, using a clone tool, a clone stamp tool, and with quite a big brush, I'm just very roughly on the blur layer just going to go around and just literally, I'm just making effectively the object that we want to keep smaller, or extending the background inside that area. So I'm just going around very roughly. I'm not really, we're going to blur this so much anyway in a minute, it's not going to really show. So there you can see I've just done a quick clone just to lose the edges of the flower. Now what I'm going to do with this layer is going to go to Filter, Convert for Smart Filters. And the reason why we use Smart Filters is it gives us the option to edit them at a later stage. So if I hit OK, if I now go to, I'm going to blur this layer, so I'm now going to go to Filter, Blur, Gaussian Blur. I'm just going to blur this out completely, and on this picture I'm about 67 pixels, but click OK. And let's say the good thing with a smart filter is I can always double click on Gaussian Blur and I can adjust it if I feel I want to blur it more or less after I've done the flower. So just stick that back up roughly to 60 odd. And then I'm going to come to the flower layer and turn that layer on. Now I need to select the flower so I can mask out the flowers to reveal the blurry flowers in the background. So I'm going to do that with a colour range tool, because we've got a nice pink flower here. I'm just going to select a pink just by clicking the eyedropper in the middle here, and I need to add to this colour, so I'll click on the middle eyedrop that's got a little plus next to it. I'm just going to add colours to this. Maybe that was a bit too much. And you can see here that I've done a pretty good job at selecting the flower. There's a little bit up here which is just standing out a bit, but we'll get rid of that in a minute. Just going to click OK. OK, and that's given us our selection. I can now hit the mask button. And we can see it's done a pretty good job. What I need to do, I just need to get rid of that little bit up there, so I'm just going to get a brush tool and I'm just painting on the mask with black. If I paint over that, I would just get rid of that little blob there, and if I do that by accident I'll just come up to Edit and Undo Brush Tool so you can see what I'm doing. We probably just need to refine the selection a little bit because we're just fading out a bit around the edges here. So I'm just going to click on the mask and I'm going to alt click on the mask, and it literally just shows you the mask then. What I want to do, where the grey bits are around the outside here, I just want to make them a bit darker. So with a brush tool, change the blend mode to overlay, and with a black brush with a white brush, you can just click, and it's just making those grey bits around the outside just a bit brighter. Like so. And now when I click back on the flower, it's just brought a bit more detail to those edges. You can actually see there's just a couple of places here where I've got a bit of green showing through. I'm just going to click back on the mask and option click or alt click on the mask, and that's just where this area here you can see the black bit sticking through. So just with a white brush, I'm just going to change the blend mode back to normal. I could just paint over those few little white bits there, the grey bits, just to make our mask. Just go around the outside here, just not going too close to the edge, just a few of those stems there. And now we have a pretty good selection of our flower on top of our background.